What is the cardinal method of life connection? This is a simple and effective way. It is powerful and deep, but the way you practice the method is easy and soothing and fast for you to apply in your life. Okay. But the cardinal method of life connection means cardinal regards your heart and also the directions of life. So it's about guiding you in the right track. Some people live their lives so confused. They're like in a fog. They don't know where to look at, how to find themselves. So the cardinal method is about aligning you to the best path, creating clarity, and living from the heart. And it's about life connection. So tonight we're going to see what this means. What is life connection? What does that mean? The first question is, what is life, right? This symbol that you see here is the seed of life. The seed of life means we all have the potential to live in life connection, and we can water the seed, and we can, if we water it and take care of it, it will become a tree, and we can reap the fruits of that tree. The problem, sadly, is that a lot of people do not do this. So a lot of people are surviving and not living. They are not nurturing their tree of life. They're not nurturing their lives, and they're not connected to the abundance of life. We're going to see why. Life is abundance. So that's the answer. What is life? Is the question. And the answer is life is abundance. So some people will say, well, if life's abundance and I don't live in abundance, or my neighbor doesn't live in abundance, or my brother or whoever, aren't they living? And I will reply, no, they're not. People who don't live in abundance are surviving. They are not living. So the answer to the question, the existential question, the 1,000-year-old question, what is life is abundance. If you are not living in abundance, you're surviving in some level or way. Now, abundance is a very broad concept, and I don't want you to get um, narrow minded in the idea of abundance in the sense that it's just about money and material abundance, because abundance is about personal fulfillment, beautiful relationships, doing what you love, nurturing yourself with what you love, having a great profession. It's about all areas of life, right? And we will see how some people can have abundance in some levels and not others, some areas and not other areas of their lives. So I want you to take a deep breath and let the idea that life is abundance sink in. If it's not abundant, there is some sort of misalignment. And the foundation of life is freedom. So if life is abundance, we can only be connected to life if we are free. And again, some people will say, if I'm not free, then I'm not living. No, you're not connected to life. You're surviving. So the number one foundation, what allows life to really unfold, is freedom. We must be free in order to be connected to life. Second of all, the purpose of life is joy. So the foundation is freedom. It's the starting point of life. And the reason why we are alive is to live in joy. Joy is the reason of life. And the cardinal method perspective will always defend this principle. And I know that some religious people get pissed off when they believe in karma, and they will say, no, the purpose of life is to burn karma, is to patch up your differences. And I will say, no, that is not true. You don't have to live your life beating yourself up with the excuse that you're burning karma. There is the law of cause and effect. That is true. However, you can patch things up very easily and very quickly, and you don't have to live your life burning karma and being miserable. That is a limiting belief system that misaligns you with life connection, that disconnects you from life, and that disconnects you from abundance. So people who perpetuate suffering at the with the argument or with the belief that it's because they need to suffer to purge their karma. That is not life connection, and that is not the purpose of life. Okay, no one was born in this planet in a cardinal method perspective to be miserable. We do have our challenges and we do need to patch things up, but we are all, every single human being in the planet, more than 7 billion, born to connect to life and to live in the purpose of seeking the purpose of joy. And the result of our life journey is expansion. So we are now giving answers to these questions, and it's relatively simple, right? I always tell people life is simple and we should enjoy it. And the result of our life journey is always expansion. So people who don't expand their minds, who don't expand their life experiences, who do not every day create a little bit of expansion in their day and in their lives, are living in atrophy. They're living in autopilot. They are not honoring and loving life as we are designed to naturally. This is our natural birthright. So people who do not engage in expansion, who are not always growing, are not in full life connection, because the result of our life journey is always expansion. And no one is born and dies without some sort of expansion in their lives. Consciousness always expands. However, sometimes it expands 1% instead of 100% of the potential, or 1,000% of the potential. There is a limitless um, unfolding of expansion in a life journey. And we're going to talk about that when we talk about the levels of mind. So now the question is, what is human nature? This is a course in human nature, and we've had 11 sessions about wisdom to come to the 12th session and ask the question, right? What's human nature to the Cardinal method in our perspective in this course? Because we know what human nature is according to the philosophers and the scholars that we have tapped into in order to create our self-transformation. But what is human nature in a cardinal method perspective? What is human nature in a course in human nature perspective? In this course that we are all doing together. Human nature in a cardinal method perspective is the search for growth. So humans are always searching for growth. In paleo times, the cavemen were searching for growth. They learned how to make fire. They learned how to create the wheel. They learned how to build cities. They learned how to cook food. That is all expansion. That is all growth. So we are wired to grow. We are wired to expand. So human nature is about the search for growth. When a person does not search growth, that person is stagnant and is not connected to their nature. They are in some level or way living in some sort of misalignment or distortion. That could be really bad, like really intense, or just, mild. And what is this growth process that we talk about? As humans, we are wired to and inclined to acquire wisdom. We are naturally driven to bringing wisdom into our lives. That's part of human nature. And one of the reasons why the course is divided in 3 parts, wisdom, love, and power, is because acquiring wisdom is part of human nature, searching for wisdom. Deepening our love is also part of the growth process of human nature. We are always searching to deepen our love. That's our natural drive. And expanding our personal power, which is also a natural drive. However, we need to pause here a little bit, because there are 3 types of people that will nurture one more than the other 2 and kind of avoid the other 2. So the wisdom people tend to shut their hearts and not really deepen their love, and they tend to run away from their personal power too. They're afraid of their power. So they deepen wisdom, but they it gets lopsided kind of because it's imbalanced because love and power are not being nurtured. The love people will do everything about love and dedicate their lives to relationships, but they avoid wisdom. And when we don't have wisdom, we have immature love. Another reason why the course in human nature is wisdom as part one and love as part two is because we need wisdom as a foundation for love to build on. We need to develop mature love and not immature love without wisdom. So the problem with people who are deep into the love ray, if we want to use that word, or we can call it a threefold flame in our hearts, the flame of wisdom, the flame of love, and the flame of power. That's a spiritual vocabulary. It's the same thing. So the people who prioritize love avoid personal power. They become victims to their relationships, and they also avoid wisdom. They avoid the clarity of seeing if they're suffering or not. And when it comes to personal power, the people who dedicate themselves to the development of personal power tend to avoid wisdom and dismiss that as unimportant. And also, they tend to be not as loving as they could be. They tend to kind of massacre people in the love spectrum. They tend to be over domineering, type A personalities, you name it. So when it comes to human nature, we are designed to equally balance these three natural impulses for growth, which are acquiring wisdom because we're not born with it. We must seek it, deepen in our love because we are born with the love, the immature love of the child, right? So when we deepen our love, we grow as human beings, and expanding our personal power because personal power is a potential that needs to be developed. So I want you now to take a very deep breath. Just pause a little bit and take a deep breath. And tell me if you have a clarity in which one of the three do you tend to be, which one of the three is predominant for you. It's awesome when you share it in the chat box. So which one of the three, or maybe you develop two and you avoid one of them. Which one of the three do you tend to give to nurture more, and which ones or which one do you tend to not nurture so much, right? To avoid even or to sabotage. Because the thing about power is that, first of all, there's a difference, and Deepak Chopra is brilliant when he brings in these concepts and this vocabulary. He says there is external power and there is personal power. And external power is not for everybody. No, not everybody's interested in having external power, meaning you are a leader and you make decisions that affect other people's lives. That's for a few people. But personal power is for everybody. And the whole point of the Cardinal method existing and the course in human nature as well is for us to tap into our personal power and own it, because it's part of our joy and it's part of the abundance of life. So people have a lot of distorted beliefs about power. They think that it's a bad thing, that it's an evil thing. They confuse it with being cruel or authoritarian, and it's not about that at all. Personal power is what allows us to create the things we want to create in life. Okay, so we can be, do, and have whatever we want in our lives. So personal power is very much about doing things that we want to do and acquiring the things that we want to acquire. Okay. So everybody take a deep breath. And this is something to really allow yourselves to think about and let it sink in. And the question now is, knowing that life is about freedom, joy, abundance, and expansion, knowing that human nature is awesome because human nature is about growth, and growth in three areas: acquiring wisdom, deepening love, and expanding personal power. So all of that is amazing. These are awesome experiences. However, a lot of us suffer so much. Most of humanity is trapped into a program or a trance of suffering. So the cardinal method is about getting you out of that trance, getting you out of that suffering mode, getting you out of that programming that doesn't allow you to connect to the abundance of life, to the best of life, that doesn't allow life connection. The question is, why do we suffer? Because we suffer in learning. Okay. So, those of you who know that we can learn without suffering, the question is, why do we suffer? Why? And there is this limiting belief that says we need to suffer to learn. And that is simply not true. Whenever you think that you need to suffer to learn, you are living in limitation. You are living in a limiting belief system. Okay? But most people believe that we suffer in learning. We suffer in love. Who has never had a heartbreak is probably lying. And the question is, why do we need to suffer in order to connect to love? Why do we need to have the love experience hand in hand with the suffering experience? Why does that happen? And why do we suffer with the idea of power? Why do we confuse power with competition? Why do we confuse power with dispute? It's either me or you, either or. This dualistic, excludent mentality. This is not what life intended. This is not human nature either. This is a distortion of human nature. Okay, so we suffer with the idea of wisdom. We think it's too hard. We think that we learn the hard way. We suffer with the idea of love, and we suffer with the idea of power. Why on earth is that? Since that's not what life is designed to be. The reason we suffer is because we are out of alignment with life and abundance. So now you need to understand, what is life connection? Life connection is alignment. What is the cardinal method? The cardinal method is alignment, cardinal directions, life connection. This is all alignment with the abundance of life. And the very reason why I use crystals in my work, why the cardinal method includes crystals, is because there is internal geometry in crystals that helps us align our energy field. This is not airy fairy mystical stuff. This is serious quantum physics. This is the morphogenic fields in 21st century biology. This is about aligning yourself with the abundance of life and creating lasting change. That's what we do with the cardinal method. And that is exactly what we talk about when we talk about life connection. And the people in the Course in Human Nature are the ones who are committed to this alignment. This alignment is what we have been doing for the past 11 sessions in the live sessions monthly and in the Know Thyself exercises. The, the sessions are about the knowledge that align you initially. The Know Thyself exercises are a deeper alignment with life and abundance. And the self-transformation that you promote in your life, in your relationships, in your professional field, with your family, is the result of this alignment. And it is what is creating so many awesome changes in people's lives. The people who are in this course give such amazing feedback. It's unbelievable because they apply this knowledge and they create alignment. Okay, so the cardinal method of life connection is the alignment you've been creating for the past 11 sessions and tonight as well. So for life to flow, as I said, we need alignment. If there is no alignment, there is no flow. There is, if we use water as a metaphor, water all over the place. You know, it's spilled water. It's not a constant flow of energy. So for life to flow and for abundance to manifest in your life, we need alignment. And it's very simple if you observe your life and people's lives. We're either aligned or not in different areas of life. So some people may be aligned in their financial life, but they are miserable in their love life. Some people may be extremely successful professionally, but they have a terrible family life. It depends on the person. So we may have imbalance and misalignment in different areas, and we may have balance and alignment in the flow of abundance in another area. Okay. So the question now is, why do we get out of alignment? What causes this misalignment, right? What will shift our path and create the misalignment? What does this? Why do we get out of alignment? The Cardinal method uses the model of 3 levels of consciousness. And these 3 levels explain why we get out of alignment and how we can realign ourselves once we declutter, once we tap into and eliminate the distortions of each level of consciousness. So the first level is the structure level. And we have the chakra system here. Those of you who have been in the course know that we have a whole session about the chakras, the Hindu chakra system. So you can go back there if you need to get more specific info about it. So we're not going to get deep into chakras tonight, but I need you to remember a little bit about the chakras to understand the levels of consciousness. So the structure level is about the levels of consciousness of the lower chakras, the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus, which corresponds to safety, to pleasure, and to prosperity in life and success and professional success. So the reason why these areas of life get misaligned has to do with whatever happens in the structure level, which we will dive deep into tonight. Then we have then we have the freedom level, which is about, as the name says, freedom. It's how we become individuals. It's where we become individuals. So the structure level is collective. It's how we belong to different groups. And the freedom level is individual. It's about our individuality and how we are truly free. So that's the second level of consciousness. And the third is the connection level, which is all about the abundance we've been talking about, the expansion, the life connection, is how life manifests itself through us, through human beings. So let's understand what these are. So let's understand what these are. The structure level, as the name says, is about structure. It has to do with our survival, and we need a stable survival to be free. We need to be sheltered. We need to be clothed. We need to be nurtured. We need to have a minimal level of belonging to groups in order to become individuals, right? So the structure level in the Cardinal method is what I call the love we receive from others. A human baby cannot survive on its own. So we need to be taken care of. We need to be nurtured in order to survive. And that's what the structure level is all about. As humans, we are born, remember the threefold flame or the 3 rays that we talked about, wisdom, love, and power? So a human baby is not born with wisdom. We acquire wisdom and knowledge from the people around us, right? We are nurtured in the wisdom area. We also have no power as babies and children. So we are nurtured in order to become independent and then develop our power. We have love when we are born. Human babies are born in the love energy, but it's immature love, right? So the structure level is what we receive when we are born, when we are children, and when we are teenagers. And the structure level will build the foundations of our belief systems and our ideas of the world, because it's going to be what we absorb from our parents, from our ancestors, from our culture. So the structure level will determine a lot of our life abundance or lack of it. and we'll see how and why. But right now, I need you to understand that the structure level is all about the love we receive. It's often imperfect love, right? Our parents not necessarily are able to nurture us with perfect love, but it is what they have. It's the best that they have to give us. And sometimes their belief systems may be blocking a person's life. So it is one of the causes of misalignment, and we'll talk more about that soon. So the structure level corresponds to the deep unconscious mind. And the deep unconscious mind is not in our control. And to access the contents of the deep unconscious mind, we often need external help. We need an expert to help us access those. And that's the reason why we hold monthly constellations at Ranova. And some of the sessions that we do individually are designed to specifically tap into the deep unconscious mind, because alone by ourselves, we rarely can have access to whatever content is buried there in the deep unconscious. It is also a collective consciousness. So we share the deep unconscious mind with family members, with our siblings, with our parents, with our ancestors, with groups of people. It's a shared consciousness. So I want you guys to understand that we are individuals, but a level of our existence is collective. It's the structure level in the deep unconscious mind. And it's directly related to survival. So we need to survive and before we can be free, right? And the thing is, a lot of people in the world are not tapping into the abundance of life because they are in the survival level. They only survive. They don't have enough resources, material or immaterial or otherwise, or soul, wisdom, feeling, intellectual resources to leave the survival level. And this structure level is also where our family resides. So our families greatly influence our way of thinking in the deep unconscious mind. Everything that's buried there holds our family values, our family history, all the experiences of our ancestors. All of that is present in our unconscious mind, deep unconscious mind. The ancestors are so powerful, and we often don't even realize it. So our culture is now becoming more open to understanding the power of constellations and deep ancestral work, because our ancestors are present in our cells and they determine a lot of the contents of our deep unconscious mind. So a person may not allow himself or herself to be happy and free because there was so much ancestral pain that their unconscious mind is cluttered with pain and turmoil and suffering. So they are not completely aligned with the abundance of life because there's a lot of ancestral baggage in that person's unconscious, deep unconscious mind. Our culture also plays a huge role in our lives. And if our cultures are not aligned with our real selves, with our individuality, our cultures may create huge obstacles for a person to be happy, fulfilled, and abundant. So our culture may also be an obstacle to our alignment with the life flow, right? With the abundance of life. So the structure level is a vertical downward energy. It is the roots of our tree. It isn't good or bad. It's part of the human existence. And if it's cluttered with misaligned energies, with suffering, with bad memories, with turmoil, with pain, it is going to create obstacles and resistance in our lives. And it is part of the collective belonging that we all have as humans. When we declutter the deep unconscious mind, when we resolve and resignify experiences, when we make peace with those contents, our lives begin to flow. So how can you tell that a person has a clear, decluttered, deep unconscious mind? When that person is abundant, happy, healthy, and free. People who are misaligned, people who have lives that make them miserable, absolutely only 100% of the time have clutter in the deep unconscious mind. And we address that with energy work, And that is the key to releasing those contents. The freedom level is our individual mind, right? It is related to our individuality, and it's where the subconscious mind resides. Now, the Cardinal method has a very specific vocabulary. So you're going to see elsewhere people saying that the subconscious mind is everything. So they only make two subdivisions, mind, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. In the Cardinal method, we have four subdivisions because the deep unconscious mind does not correspond to the subconscious mind. The deep unconscious mind is collective in the Cardinal method, and the subconscious mind is individual. The deep unconscious mind encompasses everything that has happened to a person's family, everything that has happened before the person was born, and that is present in that person's psyche. So it's collective, it's about family, culture, and ancestors. And the subconscious mind is everything that is our individual experience and how we have interpreted things in our lives. So maybe a painful story happened to us personally and individually, and we may interpret that subjectively as something distorted that does not necessarily correspond to the truth. I'll give you a quick example. The father worked all day and the little kid was 5 years old. And when the father gets home, the kid wants to hug the father and play with the father. And the father is way tired and doesn't want to do it. And the father dismisses the kid and goes to sleep. The child feels unloved. That is a typical subconscious mind conclusion. My father doesn't love me. Is it the truth? No, it's a subjective, distorted content, a subjective, distorted conclusion of the child. The father loves the child, but the father was tired that day and didn't hug the child and didn't stay with the child for an hour playing. So that kind of distorted interpretation that the subconscious mind makes creates clutter and creates very distorted limiting belief systems that create misalignment, that don't allow the flow of life to happen. Okay? So it's different because it's individual. And it is also directly related to our individual experience, as I said. It is not collective, it's very subjective, it's very unique, and each person is different. So, psychoanalysis is all about this kind of energy. It's also when it is healthy, the freedom level is horizontal and expansive and creates joy in our lives. So what does that mean? Horizontal relationships. It's not about our parents and ancestors. It's about the friends we make. It's about our siblings, but the siblings are also related to family. So freedom means the people we choose to connect with out of joy and expansion, right? It has to do with the freedom of choosing your own profession. It has to do with the ability to create your own prosperity from your talents. That is all horizontal level, expansive joy that happens in the freedom level. Your individuality expressing itself in the world. And the last part is the connection level. And now I really want you to pay close attention because that's the focus of this session tonight. The connection level is what connects us to the abundance of life. It's the life connection process happens at the connection level because the connection level will touch each and every cell of our body, will infuse the cells of our bodies with the abundance of life if it is aligned, right? So there is connection or disconnection. So the connection level encompasses the conscious mind. So that's the tip of the iceberg, right? We have 3 to 10% of the ice, the body of ice outside of the water that is visible, and 90% below water. So the 90% below water corresponds to the subconscious and the deep unconscious mind. The conscious mind is the tip of the iceberg, and it is what we are aware of because we are not aware of what's going on in the deep unconscious mind, period. We need an expert to access that. We can be aware of what's happening in the subconscious mind if we pay attention to the little voice that nags, to the little sentences that come up that disqualify people or that create some sort of misalignment with another person, or who believe people don't love us and all of that, we can't tap into the subconscious mind by ourselves. But the conscious mind is always present, and it's what we tend to have as the reference for our identity, right? And the conscious mind may or may not be aligned with the abundance of life. So the super conscious mind is part of the connection level, and it's not always activated in every single person. So now we have come to a threshold, because every single human being has the deep unconscious, the subconscious, and the conscious mind activated. However, not everybody taps into the unlimited power of the super conscious mind. So we may live our connection level only with the conscious mind, which makes it very limited to live as a human being. Or we may tap into the super conscious mind, which is what we do with the Cardinal method. The Cardinal method is not just about soul healing. It is mostly about consciousness expansion, but to expand your consciousness and to activate the superconscious mind and to live by the criteria and by the guidance of a superconscious mind, we need to have healed the first three levels enough in order to allow the superconscious mind to work. So this is not an absolute, but we want to look at the predominance of these energies, right? Some people don't even activate the superconscious mind. Some people activate it a little bit, but there's so much clutter and they don't want to do their inner work that they stall. It's just hiccups and it's very slow. The progress is very slow. So the superconscious mind is pure, limitless consciousness that we are all able to connect to. The superconscious mind promotes life, connection, and abundance. It's directly what connects us to abundance, not anything else. So how do you see this in practical terms? People who have scarcity in their lives are not really activating the superconscious mind. People who create abundance in their life, and this is not just about material abundance. It's about all abundance, all areas. These people have an activated superconscious mind. Okay. It is vertical and it moves upward. It is about expansion. So that's why it's connected to life, because life is all about expansion. And we do not expand in this deep unconscious mind or the subconscious mind or the conscious mind unless we activate the superconscious mind, which will bring new perspectives, which will resignify the belief systems in the subconscious mind, which will resignify the experiences in the deep unconscious. So when we create change, we are activating the superconscious mind, which is our real identity, which is the real higher self manifestation. And we can tell this in practical terms. So we always have to verify, okay? I'm talking a lot of theory here, but in practical terms, how do you see that? How do you verify it? It is what causes limitless well-being. So when you feel well-being in all areas of life, with your physical body, you're happy and healthy, feeling beautiful, with your home, with your financial life, with your professional life, with your relationships, with your family, with your personal fulfillment. That is life abundance expressing itself through you. That is your superconscious mind connecting to life, promoting abundance that results in limitless well-being. You have access to all you want and you feel good in each and every area of your life. We have to do the work because all of us have a lot of clutter to release, right? But this is the goal. This is what we're aiming for. The joy of life, the well-being and the joy that the superconscious mind creates. And also transcendence. So now I know that I may piss some people off, and that's okay. because the Cardinal method is all about transcendence, and a materialistic mind is incompatible with the Cardinal method of life connection. We cannot believe that matter and the physical world and this 3D reality is all there is to life, to the world, and to existence. We must allow ourselves to surrender to a reality that is much broader and much richer than the 3D reality of our material physical world. So materialistic minds are incompatible with the work that we do here in A Course in Human Nature and with the Cardinal method. We need to transcend matter, and not just that, we need to transcend our current present moment experiences and know that we can create other better experiences for ourselves if the present moment experience is not what we want to be living. So when you transcend, you're able to visualize what you want for yourself. And the more you visualize and consistently believe that this can happen, you will manifest it through the superconscious mind power. So now this is a time in which we understand that all our life experiences are attracted by our levels of consciousness. So our life experiences are a manifestation of the law of attraction. So the Cardinal method includes the law of attraction big time because it explains the manifestation world, the manifested experiences that we have. Okay. The question is, who is attracting the experience? Which level of consciousness is attracting the experience? That's what we're going to dive deep into now. But just know that every life experience was attracted by one of our levels of consciousness. And the question is now, which level of consciousness is creating your experience? That's my question to you. Are you creating your experience from the deep unconscious mind? A lot of people are, and they're so unaware of it, and they don't understand why they're attracting such havoc. They're good people, and they don't deserve it, air quotes, but they're living in hell. And why is that? Because the deep unconscious mind is probably creating their experience, or the limiting beliefs of the subconscious mind. Because there are so many good people who have such limiting belief systems. It's sad to see. So they cling to such limitations, to such a narrow minded perspective of life. And they're amazing, beautiful people. They have good hearts, but they attract terrible experiences for themselves because the subconscious mind has limiting beliefs. Okay. Or you may be attracting amazing experiences for yourself, living the life you want, creating abundance because the superconscious mind is charging the conscious mind and creating the best experiences. So the question is, which level of consciousness is creating your experience now? Is it the conscious mind? And the question is, the conscious mind will tell you what you want. So the conscious mind is going to say, I want a beautiful life. I want to live on the beach. I want to have a beautiful marriage, and I want 2 children, and I want a dog and a cat and an eagle, and I want a car, and I want to travel 3 times a year. That's what your conscious mind wants. If you're not manifesting what the conscious mind wants, it's because there is clutter, there is resistance, there are obstacles in the subconscious mind and or in the deep unconscious mind. The question that we focus on now, which is the subconscious mind creating your reality? Is the subconscious mind attracting your experience? The question is, what do you allow? So the subconscious mind may be at war, may be really finicky about the wants of the conscious mind because the person doesn't believe that they can have it. Okay, I want the car and the marriage and the traveling, but do I allow this experience or do I not allow it? If you are not living the experience you want, it's because your subconscious mind does not allow it, or the deep unconscious. So the subconscious mind may have beliefs about self. Okay. So the difference between the blockages of the subconscious mind and the deep unconscious mind is that the subconscious mind has limiting beliefs about self and doesn't allow you to have the beautiful life you want to have because it has a limiting belief about who you are. So, what do you say after I am? What's your identity in the subconscious mind? I am beautiful, or I am rich, whatever it is, or I am poor, I don't deserve it, how dare I? You know, that kind of belief that will block the manifestation of what the conscious mind wants. And remember, the conscious mind is 3 3%, 10 to 3% of our minds, right? And the subconscious mind and the deep unconscious are like 90% or more, depending on the person. So you want to start illuminating and decluttering the subconscious mind and the deep unconscious in order to allow yourself more, in order to expand your experience. Remember, life connection is about expansion. Life connection is about freedom and joy and growth. And that is our human nature too. So human nature is compatible with life connection. Human nature is designed to manifest the abundance of life, but there are blockages. And the blockages reside sometimes in the conscious mind, depending on what the person wants, because the person may not want a lot. So if you don't want the abundance, that's your conscious mind limiting you. But if you want the abundance and you don't allow yourself to have it on the subconscious mind, then you're living a very limited life and probably a not very happy life. And if it's the deep unconscious mind that holds the most blockages, what is holding you back, right? What do the systems you belong to allow? So if you want the abundance of life, but you have a low self-esteem, identity of self in the subconscious mind, it's going to block your abundance. If it's not the subconscious mind, but the deep unconscious mind that has those limitations, it could be a culture that is very rigid, that doesn't allow women to study, for instance. But maybe the person comes from a rich family that wants her to go and study abroad. So the girl does go and study abroad. But the deep unconscious mind still has that content that women should not have an education. So there is a war. There are conflicting realities. The reality of the deep unconscious mind that holds the culture, that holds the cultural values, and the reality of the girl who's experiencing something that transgresses the culture and feels guilty about it. It goes short circuit in the inner world of that person. Also, rigid religions, right? Some religions are so rigid, and the person wants to be free in her sexual life or something like that. There could be short circuit in that area as well. And the question is it the super conscious mind that's creating your reality? The people who live an abundant life on all areas of life, I'm not talking about rich people who are miserable alcoholics who have a terrible relationship with their families. That's not real abundance. Because they're in the cover of magazines doesn't mean they're happy. They could be miserable, which is the case of a lot of celebrities, right? And they should do their inner work in order to enjoy the abundance fully. But when the superconscious mind is creating the person's reality, that person is fulfilled in every area of life. That person has tapped into life's abundance and the alignment is happening. So that is the best case scenario when your superconscious mind creates your reality, attracts your experiences. So, your idea of who you are determines your experience on a superconscious mind level. And it is in this superconscious mind can be stronger than the deep unconscious and subconscious and the conscious mind. If you set your mind to connect to the superconscious mind level, you are going to have a different idea of yourself because in this understanding, this expanded vision of the world, you can be, do, and have anything you want. You just have to allow yourself to be who you want to be, to do what you want to do, and to have what you want to have. If you have not yet tapped into those realities, what will your superconscious mind do? It will push you in the direction of releasing the distortions, releasing the blockages, and releasing the resistance so that you can align yourself with life's abundance, so that you can create life connection. And that's exactly what every person who is in A Course in Human Nature is doing. They're being guided by the higher self. They're being guided by the superconscious mind to declutter every time they come to a session, every time they watch a recording, and especially when they do the Know Thyself exercises, which are 5 questions after every live session. You create alchemy, and your superconscious mind becomes the one in charge of your life and starts creating the abundance of life and starts creating your reality. Okay? So, your idea of who you are will determine your experience and will be able to override the resistances and the blockages of the subconscious mind and the deep unconscious mind and sometimes the conscious mind if you do the work. And we have to be diligent because in the deep unconscious, there are generations of accumulated distortions that we have to deal with and declutter. And depending on the type of belief in the subconscious mind, some people may collapse beliefs very quickly in 2 days. And some people may take 3 months. Some people may take 4 years. It depends on the person. But if your life has not yet manifested everything you want, it's because there's still inner work to do to declutter the other levels of consciousness that are below the superconscious mind. So your life is a result of the thoughts you think, of the emotions you feel, because your thoughts will create the emotions you feel, and the stories that you tell. Now, we are coming into a time, a specific moment in this live session in which we have to really observe our thoughts, our emotions, and especially the stories we're telling and how we're telling our stories, because that's what creates our reality ultimately. How do you tell your story? That's a question you have to ask yourself. Do you tell your story pessimistically? Do you tell your story in a way that makes you a victim or a martyr? Or do you tell your story from the higher self perspective, from the superconscious mind perspective that will say, you have gone through this and this experience in order to grow? Because remember, human nature is about growth. Life connection is about expansion. So, regardless of the experience you've gone through, it has created growth for you. Maybe through pain and maybe through unnecessary suffering, but if you start seeing your life from the with the eyes of your higher self and your superconscious mind, you're going to start telling your story differently and feeling differently about your story, and therefore attracting better life experiences that are not just a loop in a vicious cycle of your pain from your past. So the way you tell your story determines your experience, because you're going to attract more of what you think and more of what you feel and more of how you tell your story. So if you keep telling the story from the perspective of the victim, you're going to keep attracting victim situations, because that's law of attraction, right? And who's telling the story from the victim perspective? Possibly and likely your subconscious mind. For some people, the conscious mind. Depends. It's individual. Each person is different. So to change your reality, you must tell the story of what you want. What do I mean by that? First of all, in practical terms, stop talking about your past and the painful experiences of your past, because you must focus on the now and the future. The present moment reality that you live now is a result of all the thoughts you have thought and the feelings you have felt and the stories you have told before today, before right now. If you want to change your present moment reality, you're going to start telling your story the way you want to tell it, so that you can create the life that you want and the experiences that you want. Meaning, all you went through, all the pain has served you as a growth experience, has made you stronger, and now you're moving on and you see yourself as a strong person who's growing and who's creating the best of life. So you're going to start telling the story of who you are now as someone you want to be in the present moment and as someone you want to be in the future. Okay, so you can shift and pivot your identity of self and start telling your story in a different way right this moment. You can start saying, I am strong and I want a house on the beach and I want the car and I want the marriage and I want this and that. And I get it and I will manifest it and start telling that story instead of telling the painful stories of your past that do not serve you in any level of way, unless you want to be a victim and you want to be pitied by others. And then life connection is not going to help you. This course is not going to help you. And the Cardinal method can't help you. Okay. But if you want to create abundance and prosperity and life connection in your life, you can start changing it right now. Start living from the superconscious mind right now. So, what is the focus of the story your deep unconscious mind tells? Some people come from families that are extremely pessimistic and they will unconsciously be telling their stories in a way that is detrimental to them because that is a habit of the family or that is a habit of their culture. So does your deep unconscious mind tell your story in terms of flow or in terms of stagnation? Start observing. This is practical for you. How do your parents tell their stories? How do your relatives, your aunts and uncles, how do your the people around you in the family level, how do they see life? What is their life perspective? Do they tend to focus on flow or do they tend to focus on stagnation? Some families are very healthy, so they'll push you forward. Some parents are awesome, so they'll push you forward. So you can kind of sense what kind of energy and what kind of content you hold in your deep unconscious mind by observing the talk and the stories your parents tell and how they tell it, how your grandparents talked, how they used to talk. Try to remember the kind of stories that your ancestors and your parents told and the way they told their stories. Did they focus on flow or did they focus on stagnation? Did they focus on abundance or did they focus on scarcity? I will tell you in my experience, when we have monthly Cardinal Method constellations, we tend to see like 80% of the time families that focus on scarcity, families that went through hunger, who went through turmoil regarding finances, families who have struggled with money issues. That keeps repeating itself in the narrative, in the story they tell, and it's present in the person's deep unconscious mind when they have their constellation. So this is a big one for you to observe too. Negativity or positivity? What do your family members focus on? What does your culture focus on? There are cultures that are extremely dramatic, extremely pessimistic, that encourage people to feel disempowered. So, and there are families that have that too. And there are cultures that are positive, that are bright, that are happy, that are free. And there are families that are like that. But when the culture and the family are vibrating in positivity, the deep unconscious mind of an individual is not going to create clutter or blockages. It's going to be just beautiful, free space, open space, and an open field for the super conscious mind to create life connection and abundance. So, is the focus of the deep unconscious mind on sadness or joy? Depends on the culture, depends on the family. Sometimes the paternal side is very joyful and the maternal side of the person is very sad, or the opposite. So the DNA has this kind of misalignment and the kind of focus that the families have, but usually, likely, they are mirror images of each other. Very often, more often than not, in different percentages. So the father's system has that sadness, but it's not as intense as the mother's system. Sometimes it's amplified in one of the family systems, right? So we need to observe that. And when it comes to the subconscious mind, what is the focus of the story your subconscious mind tells? Is it, remember, the subconscious mind is about your individual experience, and as an individual, how you've become. Have you become pessimistic? Have you become a worrier? Have you become a fearful person or a positive, happy person? Depends, right? Sometimes there are positive, happy people with healthy subconscious mind that have really troubled deep unconscious mind. So it depends on the person. But when it comes to the subconscious mind level, the question about the present moment right now is, do you feel gratitude for your present moment right now, or disqualification of the present moment? And I need to talk a little bit about this right now with you, because the subconscious mind, first of all, doesn't know the difference between you and someone else, thinks that everything around us is us. So the subconscious mind doesn't discern boundaries between people and places and things. So I'll give you a practical example. If you say, my neighbor is an idiot, the subconscious mind will not understand my neighbor, will only understand idiot, and it's going to think you're talking about yourself. So everything you say about other people, the subconscious mind thinks you're talking about yourself, because everyone is one in the subconscious mind level. It is the mind of a child. It is predominant in childhood, and it absorbs belief systems and interprets things and repeats them and thinks we're talking about ourselves. So the key to start clearing and cleansing the subconscious mind is gratitude for the present moment, and not disqualifying what you're going through, and not disqualifying other people around you. So I'm not saying you should be in airy fairy mode and denial mode. You know, if you run into a person who's not a nice person, you're not going to pretend that the person is nice, but you're not going to focus on the not niceness of the person, you know? You're going to focus on your own life and dismiss that person as someone who is not worthy of your focus, with respect, but just being grateful. I'm so glad that I can create a better feeling for myself and not engage with a toxic person, instead of repeating to yourself, that person is so toxic, I don't want to be around her, and putting your focus on her. Okay. And the question now is, what's the focus of of the story of your conscious mind? What story does your conscious mind tell? The thing is, the conscious mind gets intoxicated and it begins to vibrate in a low energy when the stories that are being told are not the story of the higher self. Okay. So the conscious mind is healthy when the story that's being told is coming from the superconscious mind and the higher self perspective. So the higher self and the superconscious mind are the same thing. So the higher self version, the superconscious mind version, will always be about life connection and abundance, and how can you make the best of this, and how can you create alignment. And creating alignment and connecting to flow means you have to get away from whatever brings misalignment to you, right? So the conscious mind must be nurtured by the superconscious mind. Otherwise, it's going to have a low energy, and it's just going to be on autopilot, repeating the detrimental beliefs and thoughts of the subconscious mind and or of the deep unconscious mind. So when it comes to the conscious mind, the question is your controlling self-centered ego telling your story? Because in the Cardinal method, the ego is not an evil thing. The ego is neutral. And we have a whole session about this in our wisdom part, right? In part 1 of the course. The ones who are our students and our members can just go to session 7, and we'll talk about the aspects of the psyche there, and go back to the know thyself exercises there that we talk about the ego. Now, when it comes to intoxicating and tainting the conscious mind, the controlling, self centered ego tells the story exactly how I'm going to tell you now. Disqualifying other people, thinking you're better than others, creating isolation, and thinking that you can't be around other people because no one can match up to your greatness. So disrupts connection with others, and therefore it disrupts life connection. So the ego, the controlling self-centered ego, if that is the one telling a story of your life, of an episode, or of a relationship, or of your professional life, it is going to be self-centered, controlling, disqualifying, and creating an obstacle or a misalignment with the life connection flow and the abundance of life. But on the other hand, if your conscious mind is healthy and aligned with the superconscious, are you transcending and surrendering to joy, well-being, and abundance? And how do you do that? With the conscious mind is very simple. You kind of quote, air quotes here, hypnotize yourself into affirmations that don't allow you to nurture toxic thoughts. So you keep saying to yourself, I am happy, I am joyful, I'm fulfilled, I'm abundant. Whenever you have a disqualifying thought, whenever you have a thought that, you know, goes against somebody or puts your focus on toxic people, you just shift your focus to affirmations that create and attract what you want for your life, that come from the superconscious mind. Because the superconscious story focus is the real game changer. This is what we do in our course in human nature. We activate the superconscious mind. We tell our story from a superconscious mind perspective, from the higher self perspective. And then we start changing our life experiences because we won't believe the limiting beliefs that brought us to the terrible situation that we had put ourselves into. Everybody who wants a good life, everybody who is not living a good life and wants change, is activating the superconscious mind and telling their story with a superconscious mind focus. And that's what the Know Thyself exercises in this course are all about. Telling your story from a superconscious mind perspective will create alchemy, will create self-transformation, and will create transformation in your life experience. You're going to start attracting a much better reality. So getting practical, first thing you need to understand is that life connection and the abundance of life are infinite possibilities. It is limitless pure consciousness. So stop saying that something is impossible and start saying that things are possible. Start saying that you can be, do, and have whatever you want as long as you commit to doing the work, as long as you commit to becoming the higher self that you were born to be. Okay? So, how do you get practical on this? What are the direction of your thoughts? That's the first question. Is the direction of your thoughts towards the person that you hate, the people you don't like, the toxic people that have hurt you? Or is the direction of your thoughts in yourself, in your higher self, in the experiences you want to manifest, in the dog you want to have, in the cat you want to have, in the family you want to have, in the home you want to live in? You have the choice to direct your thoughts. Whatever thought you nurture will create your feelings, which will create the vibrations that will manifest your reality. So is your mind focus creating feelings that make you feel good or bad? When you focus on the person you hate, you feel bad. When you focus on the person you love, you feel good. When you focus on your higher self, you feel good. When you focus on the experiences you want to have and the trips you want to take, in the clothes you want to wear, in the ideal body that you want to create for yourself, you feel good, right? It's so simple. It's mathematical. The way you feel will determine what you will attract. So the better you feel, the more you'll attract awesome experiences for your life, and the more you will attract abundance, and the more you will create life connection. And do you focus your thoughts on what you want or on what you don't want? Stop focusing on what you don't want. If something pisses you off, stop focusing on that. Forget it even exists. If your ex dumped you 5 years ago, forget that he even exists. Send him love and light and forget he exists. It's all about your focus, okay? It's not about being good or bad to others. It's about focusing on abundance and life connection. And also, this is a big one. What is the quality of your words? What are the words you say in your mind? What you think? What are the words you use in your thoughts? What are the words you write? People journal, and journaling is awesome. It's powerful because it allows you to know yourself better and observe the words that come out spontaneously because they will reveal the quality of your inner world. Who's talking? Is it the deep unconscious? Is it the subconscious? Is it the superconscious? So pay attention to your words and to the quality of them, and also what you speak. If you want to create life connection and abundance in your life, start saying words that are life affirming. Start saying words that will contribute to this connection to the abundance of life, to the life connection that brings abundance. And again, we have precious time in our hands as human beings. We have time. What do you do with your time? Remember, we talked about freedom in session 11. What we do with our time creates our reality. Do you spend your time talking about things you love and want? Seriously, you guys, I will not be very diplomatic right now. I hear so many people in my space at Ranova, my professional space, in my day-to-day life, my social circles, talking bad about other people much more than they talk about the things they love and want. Especially, and this is my social circle, one of the social circles that I go through, and I've been in these different social circles and different parties for 4 to 5 years. I've observed the same pattern, not just in the US, in other countries too. Women who gather to talk about their husbands, badly about their husbands. Why do you waste your time in a party talking badly about your husband? Why do you do that as a woman? Really, I don't understand it because it's precious time that you have at a party, and you should focus on what you love and what you want. And if your husband bothers you, be an adult and talk to him at home instead of gossiping to your friends and going home with a mask and pretending nothing is happening. Come on, right? That creates restrictive life experiences. That is a stale life experience. It's not the juicy, delicious, abundance life connection that we're talking about here. So, do you complain about the present? Do you complain about the past? And do you complain about the future? If you do that, that's blocking your alignment. That is not allowing life to flow. That is not allowing abundance to come to you. So, complaining is a huge tool to create misalignment. If people don't want the abundance of life, all they have to do is complain about the present, about the past, and about the future. So what should you do from now on, wrapping up, so that we can answer your questions and go to Q&A? What should we do from now on, now that we have this knowledge? Practically, theory is useless unless it's applied philosophy, right? So we need to get practical about with the things we learn. Bert Hellinger says, keep going. Bert Hellinger is the creator of family constellations. So he's going to say, keep going, keep moving forward. It's the only thing that matters. So the thing is, don't give up on your personal growth path. Even if the reality you want to manifest has not manifested fast, it means we still have work to do. It means we still have to declutter. That's why people come to constellations every month. They've been coming for 4 years, and they declutter their deep unconscious mind as they participate, and their lives improve. But sometimes it's incremental. Sometimes it's a huge, absolutely dramatic change that even I can't believe my eyes. Some people with one session are off and running and don't ever need to come back. Some people need to declutter more and more, and that is what life is about. Remember that life is about growth and expansion. Human nature is about growth. So the more you work on yourself and your inner world, and the more you declutter, the more you attract abundance, because you are aligning yourself to the abundance of life. Okay. So Beth Hellinger, the creative constellations will tell you, keep going, keep moving forward. It's the only thing that matters. And I will say, the Cardinal method will say, the course in human nature will say to you, keep going and enjoy the process. It's not just about going forward, moving forward. It's about enjoying the process. Every day of your life, do something you enjoy. Read 2 pages of your favorite book. Eat something you love to eat. Hug someone you love. Talk to people you love. Give yourself a gift. Enjoy it. Bring pleasure to every single day of your life, because the pleasure is the abundance. Okay, the joy and the well-being are your connection to life, are your connection to abundance. So every single day of your life you must connect at least a little bit to abundance. Do something you love, connect to joy, connect to freedom. Give yourself some free time to rest, to do what you want, because that's the only thing that matters. We are not born to suffer. We are not born to burn karma. We are born to connect to life. We are born to connect to abundance, and we are born to be happy. And that's why you're here in the Course in Human Nature. And I'm so, so happy to have you all. So let's see what we have now. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Those of you who are new, welcome. And I cannot answer your questions while I'm delivering the content. That's the format of our course. So let me just, before I read the questions here and answer you guys, which is the best part for me, connecting to you, right? I love doing this. So let me just put my video camera to work. Okay, cool. Let me tell you guys a little bit. The newcomers, welcome. This is an open celebration class because it's the last class of our Course in Human Nature Part 1. It's a single course. A Course in Human Nature has 3 parts: wisdom, love, and power. Each one has 12 sessions. So it's a year. It's a 3-year curriculum. It's like university for the soul education. And what we do is that every session and every month, we have a process that consists of 3 steps: knowledge, knowledge of self, and self-transformation. One depends on the other. So the knowledge part is the part that we're doing now. We meet live once a month, every first Wednesday of the month, except in January because of the new year. And I deliver the content for an hour, and we have Q&A, half an hour Q&A. Sometimes I go a little more, like tonight, right? Because there was so much content, but we answer our questions and we integrate and communicate with our chats here, and we talk. Then the next step is knowledge of self. So knowledge in the live sessions, knowledge of self in the Know Thyself exercises. So we upload the Know Thyself exercises after the live session, at least about 48 hours after the live session. We upload the materials for you to answer 5 questions about yourself that pertain to the content of the knowledge part. And that's when you know yourself better. That's your inner work. That's when alchemy happens. And then the third step is inspired action that promotes self-transformation, because you cannot know yourself and not act on it. And you cannot transform yourself if you if you don't know yourself, right? So the knowledge that we get in the live sessions sophisticates your mind, stimulates your brain power, allows you to see with an expanded vision of the world. Then you will answer the Know Thyself exercises and dive deep into yourself, and that will create the transformation every month. So it's an ascending spiral that we go through here. It's incredible, the feedback that I've gotten from the people throughout the years. So I want to thank our founding members, beautiful people that I love so much, that we've been together for so long. Our anniversary is tonight, so thank you for being here. We have Beth and Deb, awesome. Isabella, thank you, newcomers. We have new people here. Kristen, who came into the course a little later. So we do open our course in strategic moments for new students to hop in. Okay, we're going to open for enrollment in November, so you newcomers can join us, and you'll have access to everything that has been already seen in the course. You're going to have to catch up. So The people who started in the beginning had a whole month to work on the content and digest it and create their transformation. But the newcomers are going to have access to the whole library as long as you're enrolled, and you will be able to watch everything, do the know thyself exercises. So I suggest to catch up, you do it weekly or bi-weekly. It's going to depend on you because it's deep soul work. So every person has his or her own rhythm, but I will tell you, it is so worth it. And what awaits us in the love part is so cool and awesome, and I can't wait for that. All right. So we'll be sending all the information to your emails. You guys are going to be informed of everything. And also you can go to our website, paolaranova.com, and get all the info. All right. Okay, let's see what you guys have here as questions. Deb, for me, the strongest with obtaining wisdom and strengthening mature love and personal power. So when you observe yourself, Deb, obtaining wisdom and strengthening mature love and personal power, you think wisdom is the strongest one? And I'm not sure if I understood, but yeah. And Lisa says, I'm stronger in wisdom, but I'm a nurturer. Okay. So this is kind of a common confusion that I see in people. I'm not sure if this is what Deb said, but I saw what Lisa wrote. I'm stronger in wisdom, but I'm a nurturer. So people who are nurturers, who give a lot of their love and don't balance the giving and receiving in the love part, tend to inhibit their personal power, and they tend to not give so much importance to personal power. And sometimes the wisdom part, seeking wisdom and seeking knowledge, which was very, very, very much my case in my teenage days and in my 20s. I would hide from the world by studying, right? I was a scholar. I went to the libraries, and instead of living, I would just read and read and read and read, which is great, which is my passion. It's not something that was totally an escape. But even if you love reading and you love the wisdom, we must have a social life. We must have a connection with our personal power and allow ourselves to be more out in the world. So the wisdom people tend to have difficulty with power. That's what I tend to see. And the love people tend to not to have a difficulty with wisdom. Okay? So the wisdom person who is a nurturer, who gives more love than he or she receives, um, really does need to work on personal power. All right. Beth is saying, I feel like I'm continually acquiring wisdom, which has helped me to experience a more mature and less needy love. That's the whole point and the whole goal of this course, Beth. So I'm so glad to hear it. And I'm observing my current ideas and beliefs about personal power. Okay, great. So you're starting to balance that energy in yourself, right? So the wisdom helped with the mature love, right? And people who are nurturers must pay attention to this, because the more wisdom you acquire, the less of a nurturer you are, and the more you allow yourself to balance the energy. Not that you will not be a nurturer, but you will allow yourself to be nurtured in a healthy way too. Okay? Because sometimes when we nurture too much in some area of life, we'll be needy and will not be as independent as we could be, which is the personal power part, which has to do with our finances and our self-assurance in our professional success, which are all the realm of the power part. And Beth is saying, I was in a habit of giving it away, the personal power, and letting other people's personal power be what I allowed over my own. Yeah. So the people who have an inhibition with power, with personal power, allow other people's stronger will or stronger minds to overthrow them, to tower over them, to override them. So that's not a balanced state. So that's the reason why the Course in Human Nature is intended for people to balance their love, their wisdom, and their power, right? Wisdom allows you to have a mature love, and wisdom and mature love allow you to have aligned personal power, not oppressing personal power. Because people who tower over others, who override other people, who have stronger minds, don't have the mature love and don't have the wisdom either. So we are attracting imbalanced individuals into our experience as well if we don't ourselves balance wisdom, love, and power, right? Claudine, what an awesome class. I love it. Thank you. And Deb is saying, my comment was based on the question you asked about having strength in one or two or three areas, wisdom, love, and personal power. So for me, strongest in obtaining wisdom and strengthening mature love. Okay, so more natural for the wisdom, right, Deb? And I know you, so it makes total sense. More naturally into acquiring wisdom, creating your flow and dedicating yourself and doing your inner work in mature love, strengthening mature love, and also doing your inner work to strengthen your personal power. So stronger in obtaining wisdom. But Deb, what I see is that both the mature love and the personal power part need to be worked on. So the wisdom is really a lot more than the other two. Because some people are very much about one and not very strong in the two. Some people are strong in two and very weak in one. So it depends on the person, right? Amazing. So thank you, Dunny, for being here. We're almost over. We still have 2 minutes. If you guys have any further questions, but if not, we can wrap it up. And also, we have weekly connections or daily connections if you want in our Facebook group, right? So every Wednesday I go into our Facebook group with a live session to elaborate more in our content, and people can be there live or they can watch it later, just to be a reminder, because A Course in Human Nature is about keeping the game going. It's not just one episode a month. It's the whole month to connect to the energy of the session, to do the know thyself exercises and to observe yourself. But also weekly, I go online on Wednesdays because Wednesday is the Course in Human Nature Day. And the Thursday has become the Cardinal Method Practitioners Day. And the Wednesday is really when I dedicate myself to A Course in Human Nature and to my own self investigations, and everything that we do in A Course in Human Nature I also do for myself. And every Wednesday, I go online on Facebook to talk a little bit to you guys. And if you have questions, sometimes I answer it in video. So just share your experiences because we all grow together. Our community is amazing. I am so appreciative and love our students and our members in our course in human nature because people are just so incredible in this course. So aside from the wisdom, the love and the power that we're going to work on with the content, the community, the people are incredible. We have the Course in Human Nature in Portuguese because I'm originally from Brazil. So we have that in Portuguese. The whole thing is done in Portuguese before we do it in English. And in the Facebook group, the community is together. So there's a group of people together, not English and Portuguese, but everybody is in the same Facebook group. So Lisa has asked one question. Oh, I had arrived late. I would say personal power is most of what I have done. Have to overcome most to move beyond. As a writer, I write about manifesting my life every day. That's wonderful. It has truly surprised me, and I'm encouraged to keep going. Great. And the joy I'm receiving from the experience. Awesome. I'm asking for more help now from others and want people to give it to me. Great. Discern more around others now. That's wonderful. Thanks for sharing that, Lisa. This is great. Beth, I love the capital letters. Big love to you. Big love to us, right? It's our anniversary. I am hugging you guys energetically. Thank you, the newcomers and the founding members, the ones who hopped into the course in June, July. And it's just so wonderful. Everyone has such a special place in our hearts, right? And Dab is saying, it has been a wonderful journey. Enjoy the growth and wisdom. Great. The next phase is coming up. So on December 4th, we're going to have the first Course in Human Nature Part 2 about love. The curriculum is already uploaded in our website. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be very different, okay? We're going to talk about knowledge of self, archetypes, the Cardinal Method perspective on astrology, relationships. We're going to go back to the Enneagram, talking about the virtues of the Enneagram. We're going to go back to Native American wisdom, talking about dreams specifically. So we will revisit some of the themes that were taught in the first part and going deeper and going into a more love perspective of the knowledge. Okay, so it's all there in our website. Newcomers are welcome. We're going to open for enrollment for part 2. We open for enrollment in strategic points in our course, and then we close because we need to hold the energy. The group is very strong, and the knowledge of the Cardinal method that we bring needs us to monitor the energy and the divine proportion, which is what I call the proportion that we work in the Cardinal method. So only specific times of the year do we open for enrollment. The ones who have been here as founding members remain the same. It's the same course. Nothing changes for founding members. And the ones who are arriving now, who are going to enroll now, are going to start the course with their specific, with the specific standards of this new uh, phase, and you'll have access to the whole library as long as you're enrolled. Okay, so thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much, everybody. Love you all. Thank you for your presences. Happy anniversary to all of us, right? And I will see you all soon. Thanks for the love, and we'll be connected. So remember, this recording will be uploaded in our website, and the Know Thyself exercises as well. For newcomers and for people who signed up but could not be here live, they asked if they could watch the recording later. They will be able to, as long as they have signed up for this class, they'll be able to watch the recordings and to have the full experience of the Know Thyself exercises to see how they connect to the Cardinal method and how they hop into our journey with us, okay? So all details will be sent to your emails, and you can ask us any questions anytime you want. And I am so happy and appreciative. Thank you for being here, and have a wonderful night. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.